Well, it's burst out into the open, a full-blown war Donald Trump has started between MAGA acolytes and him on the one hand, and the Federalist Society and the conservative lawyer and judge movement on the other. And Donald Trump's now attacking Leonard Leo because he doesn't like the fact that Donald Trump, he's on a 96% losing streak in front of federal courts and not doing so hot at the United States Supreme Court overall either. And because he doesn't want to blame anybody in his own administration or himself or the Department of Justice or the bad lawyering, he has to attack another person. And so that person is Leonard Leo and Ed Whelan. I'm going to talk about Leonard Leo, Ed Whelan, and how it all burst out into the open over two things: a loss by Donald Trump at the U.S. Court of International Trade about his tariff program, and a long simmering feud about judge selection now that Donald Trump has nominated Emil Bove, and the right-wing conservatives have come out and attacked him for it, and Donald Trump doesn't like it. Those two things came together. I'm going to talk to you about it here on Legal AF. I can't express in words enough, although I will try, how shocking it is that Donald Trump has picked a fight with the Federalist Society with Leonard Leo. All of the judges that Donald Trump picked in the first term and will pick this term will come through the Federalist Society, controlled by Leonard Leo, who himself controls almost $2 billion worth of yearly funds to help conservative causes. He's a shadowy figure, Leonard Leo. He's an arch-right conservative Roman Catholic. That impacts his decision-making. He's anti-abortion. He's anti-LGBTQ+. And all of those anti-positions end up their way in the candidates proposed. Donald Trump outsourced effectively his selection of federal judges to Leonard Leo, self-admitted, in his first term. And now Donald Trump doesn't like the fact that in the 200 cases that have been filed, in the more than 65 injunctions that have been entered against him, including just another series of half a dozen in the last week, he's on he loses 96% of the time, including to judges that were picked by the Federalist Society. Now, that's not really, I'm not trying to be unfair more than I have to be to Leonard Leo, but the courts that are being chosen by people taking positions against Donald Trump are in places like Massachusetts and New York and Maine and California and DC, where there's an occasional Trump appointed judge, but it's a lot of judges that were appointed by Democrat and Democratic presidents or even moderate Republicans. And so to blame Leonard Leo, as spectacularly as just happened, is mind-boggling. Every one of the right-wing conservative justices of the U.S. Supreme Court make their way back through Leonard Leo, including Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett. Also, you could track it back to Alito and Thomas. And Donald Trump loves his United States Supreme Court, right? And where does he think it came from? It came from a combination of Mitch McConnell, then the Senate Majority Leader, taking instructions from Leonard Leo. Now, why has Donald Trump now, this is the purpose of this hot take on Legal AF, why has Donald Trump now chosen the time to bite the hand that feeds him or amputate the hand that feeds him, which will not, I assure you, go over well with members of the United States Supreme Court who are Federalists, who are Roman Catholic, who are tied to Leonard Leo. Look, Leonard Leo has also pumped a lot of money into a university and a law school, the George Mason Law School and the Antonin Scalia School of Law, which is a Federalist Society institute that hosts every summer lots of federal judges, including at the United States Supreme Court level, for week-long junkets all over the country and on their own campus, right? This is an insular group of Federalists, many of them Roman Catholic, that make decisions at the United States Supreme Court and other federal court levels. I know that because we've got contributors here on Legal AF called Court Accountability Action, and that's their primary focus, is on the shadowy world of Leonard Leo. But it helped get Donald Trump elected, and it helped Donald Trump reshape the face of the federal judiciary, whether he liked it or not. Now, Donald Trump might think he's not going to be putting in as many judges this time around, but he is. Even though there's only 45 openings right now and 2 on the appellate court, he's going to have a couple of hundred more appointees as judges go into senior status over the course of the next 3 years. And that's not even talking about whether Congress decides to give Donald Trump a gift over Democratic objection and expand the federal courts and give Donald Trump, like Ronald Reagan, another 100 federal judges. But to go after Leonard Leo is mind-boggling. I believe even though Donald Trump is saying it's not about Emil Bove being attacked, who is his criminal defense lawyer, who was his number 3 in the Department of Justice, who's known as a political hack, who's known as a bully, as a pit bull, all things that Donald Trump likes in a lawyer. It's like a Roy Cohn moment for Donald Trump to pick Emil Bove to be the New Jersey seat for the Third Circuit Court of Appeals that sits in Philadelphia. And Ed Whelan, who's a Federalist Society person, who's close to Leonard Leo, I am sure with Leonard Leo's blessing, wrote a scathing critique of Emil Bove last week in the National Review, in which he said he's wholly unqualified for that position. This is what let me read to you from what got under Donald Trump's skin in this National Review article. Some thoughts on Emil Bove's Third Circuit nomination. An innocent title. May 30th, Ed Whelan. An inane, concerted attack on me last week by senior Department of Justice officials foreshadowed Donald Trump's announcement on Wednesday that he will nominate Emil Bove to a seat on the Third Circuit. See, they started to pummel the Federalist Society people in order to get Emil Bove a seat on the Third Circuit. Bove has served in the Department of Justice since Inauguration Day, first as the acting Deputy Attorney General, then a top aide to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Here's some of my thoughts. This is Whelan. In his 4 months at the DOJ, Bove has distinguished himself as one of the DOJ's most formidable and feared political appointees and the main enforcer of Mr. Trump's demands for retribution. He's savage. He's mean. He's bullying. He then cites the case of Eric Adams, the mayor, which elicited a scolding from a federal judge, and the resignation of an interim U.S. attorney in New York who Bove had himself selected, and another prosecutor. Number 2, this is all Whelan. Like many bullies, Bove can dish it out, but he can't take it. Then he tells a story about his wife working for Mayor Bill de Blasio, a Democrat, in 2013, and there being an FBI investigation, and how Bove almost quit over it. Number 3, the oh-so-fearless Bove has not publicly acknowledged that he had a role in the enforcement by the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office to go after Jan 6th insurrectionists. That's a little reported fact, that Bove, when he was once in the Department of Justice before he became a defense lawyer for Donald Trump, had no problem in participating in the Jan 6th investigations and repeatedly expressed determination to help federal prosecutors in Washington any way he could. 4, in sum, Whelan writes, I have serious doubts that Bove has the character and integrity to be worthy of a confirmation as a federal judge. And I doubt that he would be an effective appellate judge as well. And that if there's a danger, he also says there's a danger that if he's confirmed, he would leap to the top of Trump's list for a Supreme Court vacancy. If you think that's far-fetched, Whelan writes, here's the announcement of the nomination by Trump. He will end, meaning Bove, the weaponization of justice, restore the rule of law, and do anything else that is necessary to make America great again. Emil Bove will never let you down. That didn't sit well with Donald Trump. And then he gets the loss at the Court of International Trade, which finds, rightly so, that his attempt to impose tariffs violates statutory law under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEPA, and the Constitution separation of powers, because tariffs are the exclusive dominion of Congress. He didn't like that ruling, even though it was a Trump appointee, a Biden appointee, and like an Obama appointee. He didn't like that ruling. I think actually a Reagan appointee was in there. Those two things came together. Donald Trump having been whipped in court 96% of the time, including batting only 50-50 for him, a losing streak at the United States Supreme Court. And then Whelan jumps off sides with an attack led obviously by the Federalist Society. And Donald Trump says, oh, Leonard Leo is sleazy. He's a sleazy man who's probably unpatriotic this is his way he doxes somebody, the way he attacks somebody, the way he sicks his henchmen on them, is he says they're not patriotic, they're not making America great again. He says he's having too much influence over the Supreme Court. And he had a whole big a caustic attack on Leonard Leo. What does it mean? It means that there is a schism that's now developed between conservatives and MAGA. And that's what we were hoping for from the moderate, liberal, independent side, that there would be some sort of falling out. We're seeing it in the polling. We're seeing 18% or more of Republicans having second thoughts about Donald Trump this time around. More than 60 to 70% don't believe in his signature policies about immigration, about reducing the federal government, about cutting federal funding, about the tariffs. And that's just enough at the midterms. That worm turning, that country club Republicans, if you will, rejecting Donald Trump or not voting for him and not coming out at the midterms, that will allow a Democratic win to regain the House and the Senate, to restore balance of power. So I don't want it written off as, it's just a food fight between Donald Trump and Leonard Leo. It's much deeper than that. It's a falling out of epic proportion. Now, who Donald Trump is going to pick for judges now, if he's not going to rely on the Federalist Society, that's really scary. He's already got Pam Bondi as a Department of Justice head sending out notes to the American Bar Association, one of the most agnostic groups you'll ever find. I've been a member of it on and off since I graduated. They generally, independently, neutrally review judge candidates and rate them. And Donald Trump hates that. Usually, a lot of his candidates were rated as unqualified. So he's had a letter go out by a Bondi that says, you can continue to rate, but we're going to ignore it. So if he's going to ignore the Federalist Society, he's going to ignore the American Bar Association, who's going to be picking the judges? I know. Hand up here. It's going to be Stephen Miller. He's not a lawyer, but he plays one in the White House. He's the most powerful influence on Donald Trump right now. He's replaced Boris Epshteyn, who replaced Michael Cohen. He's got Donald Trump's ear, and he's going to handpick crazy radical MAGA who have sworn a loyalty to Donald Trump, not to the law, not to the rule of law. Like the guy they tried to get through at the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. that failed. It's just going to be a series of people like that. So get ready. Alina Habba for an appellate court as training ground for a year or two for the Supreme Court. Same thing with this guy, Emil Bove. And we're going to know much better. Right now, Donald Trump has about 50 different judge positions to fill. We'll watch him do that. And then hundreds into the future. Well, keep an eye, and I'm going to keep an eye for you, on this falling out between the conservative movement, the Federalist movement, and Donald Trump and MAGA. It matters. They're not monolithic, and we need to exploit it at election time. I'm Michael Popak. I'm glad you're here on Legal AF until my next report. I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states, and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popak Firm today at 1-877-POPAK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopakfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popak Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.